Hey guys, chapter 9, section 1 video here. We're working on how can I find the surface area of a prism. And we're going to dive into this today, but I think before we do, I guess we should make sure, do we know what a prism is? That seems pretty important if we're going to find the surface area of one. So for our notes today, what we're going to do is we're going to put a little T-chart of prisms versus cylinders. What is the difference between a prism and a cylinder? And this is kind of how I like to define prisms. So here's what we know about prisms. Prisms have no curves. They are not rounded. Prisms have no curves. So these are examples of prisms. Notice the very straight edges that they have. All of those are considered prisms. Cylinders, on the other hand, are curved. Cylinders are solids with curves, so they look more like this. I think of a can of soup, kind of. So prisms do not have any curves and cylinders do. That's kind of the difference between them. Go ahead and put your pencil down. Just make a couple of guesses here. Would you say this is a prism or a cylinder? Oh, I hope you're saying cylinder because it's rounded. It looks totally like a cylinder. You could roll it on a table. It would roll. How about this? Is it a prism or a cylinder? Dice are prisms. They have those straight edges. They would roll, but they would also stop pretty quickly on one side. Okay, is this a prism or a cylinder? It's a prism. It's got straight edges. It's that candy bar, that chocolate candy bar. Have you ever seen those in the stores? I've actually never had one of these. I talk about them all the time. I've still never tried one. I don't know why. But this is a prism. Okay, how about this? Prism or a cylinder? Yeah, it's a cylinder. It's rounded. It looks similar to a can. It is definitely a cylinder. All right, so here we go. We're going to try a problem now. Time to start finding surface area. So we're going to focus on prisms in this video. So here is our prism. It looks like a rectangular box. It's got some measurements in inches. What I want you to do right now is you're going to hit the pause button on your device and you're going to copy this picture of this 3D prism into your notebook as best you can. So go ahead and try right now. Hit the pause button and try to draw it. Okay, you got it drawn? I hope you do, because we're going to take this picture and we're going to find the surface area. So the surface area is like thinking of if we wanted to paint it. If we wanted to paint the outside of the object, that would be the surface area. So I like to think of it in parts. I'm going to start with the front first. What shape is that front face? Oh, it's a rectangle. It looks like this. And if you look at the picture, it measures 6 inches by 3 inches. So it's a 6 by 3. Well, I can easily find the area of that rectangle. 6 times 3 is 18. Okay, so that's the front face. Now let's look at the side face. The side face looks like a rectangle also. What would the measurements of that rectangular face be? So if you look very carefully at that blue rectangle, I'd say the dimensions are 5 by 6. So we're going to label it 5 by 6. And to find the area of that rectangle, we'll do 6 times 5, which we know is 30. All right, so we got that face figured out. Now let's move on to the top part of our object. The top looks like this, another rectangle. What are the dimensions, the measurements of that rectangle? Well, it looks like it's a 3 by 5 or a 5 by 3, which means the area is 5 times 3, which is 15. Now here's the interesting part about this object. For every picture we just drew, for every face, for every rectangle, there are 2 of them. There is a top and a bottom. There is a left and a right. There is a front and a back. So you have to keep that in mind. So when we talk surface area, the total surface area, which I'm going to call total SA, surface area SA, is going to be 2 of each of those. So we got 2 times the 18, 2 times the 30, 2 times the 15. We're going to add all of that up. That will be the left and the right, the front and the back, and the top and the bottom. That'll include all faces on this object. And then we just got to grab a calculator or do the math in our head or off to the side of our paper. However you want to add all that up, that's fine. 2 times 18 plus 2 times 30 plus 2 times 15 is 126. So the total surface area of this whole object is 126, and we're going to say inches squared because we're talking area, inches squared, and that's our solution. All right, so let's try another one. Find the surface area. Here is our object, another rectangular prism. It's got some measurements on it, 5, 4, and 8. I don't know if those are feet or inches. They're not labeled, so we're really kind of unclear on this one. But we can still figure out the surface area nonetheless. Let's start with the front first. The front is in the shape of a rectangle. It measures 4 by 5. So the area of that rectangle would be 4 times 5, which is 20. So that's the area of the front. Of course, there's going to be a back that matches that in a minute. Okay, next face. Let's do this the right-hand side of this thing. So the right-hand side is a rectangle that measures with dimensions 4 by 8. And 4 times 8 is an area of 32. And then I'm going to go ahead and move to the bottom and top. The bottom is a big rectangle. It measures 8 by 5, and 8 times 5 is an area of 40. So now we got the front, the side, and the bottom, which we know we're going to double. There's a front and a back, there's a left and a right, and there's a top and a bottom. So our total surface area of the whole entire object is 2 times the 20, plus 2 times the 32, plus 2 times the 40. There are 2 of each of those. I hope that's making sense when you're watching the video. But there's a front, there's a back, there's a left, there's a right, there's a top, there's a bottom. And then you just multiply and add all those up. And the total surface area for this project, or this object, is 184. Now I don't know if it's inches or feet or yards, so I'm going to write units. Units squared. Total surface area. And I'm trying to show my work in a way that people could understand it. So I'm drawing out those rectangles and I'm writing down the areas and I'm labeling total surface area so people understand what I'm up to here. Why don't you try? Let's see if you can do one now on your own. So here is your prism. Go ahead and pause the video, hit that pause button on your device and see if you can find the surface area. I'm going to let you try. Go ahead and try. Alright, you got this thing done. Let's check it out. Let's see if you have an answer. So let's start with the front, which is a 5 by 8 rectangle. That's an area of 40. And then we'll move to the side, which is another 5 by 8 rectangle with an area of 40. And then we'll move to the top, which is an 8 by 8 square. And 8 by 8 is an area of 64. And we have 2 of each of those. So we have 2 times 40 plus 2 times 40 plus 2 times 64. So our total surface area adds up to 288. And since we're measuring meters, we're going to say meters squared, and that'll be our solution. So how did you do? Did you show your work in an organized method? Did you draw it? Did you sketch out the rectangles? Did you get the same solution as me? Did you make any mistakes that you can go back and kind of figure out what the mistake was? Work on figuring out what your mistakes were because then you don't do them again. That's how you stop repeating your mistakes. Okay guys, there will be definitely some more videos on this, but that is how to find the surface area of a prism. Thanks for watching. See you next time.